Welcome all. I'm Sarah Bumgardner with AAFMAA, the American Armed Forces Mutual Aid Association. Since 1879, we have been serving our military community. Our mission is to be the premier provider of financial solutions for the American Armed Forces community. And as the Director of Partnership and Member Engagement, I talk with other nonprofit organizations about what they are doing to help service members, their families, veterans, and the military community at large. And today's topic, we are going to be covering lots of things. It's becoming the end of the year, so we're going to be talking about the rare SBP enrollment opportunity, getting financially ready for 2024 at every stage of one's life, how donating to charities at the end of the year might help lower your taxes, as well as family gatherings and what that looks like on your budget. And I have today General Mike Meese talking to us about end-of-year budgeting. General Meese has served 32 years in the Army before retiring as a brigadier general and becoming the president of AAFMAA. He is a leader in military and veteran issues with an extensive knowledge on personal financial planning for service members and veterans. Mike, thank you so much for talking with us today and sharing our kind of end-of-year recap for finances for military members.
Well, thanks, Sarah. Great to be here and great to talk about these subjects as we get to the end of the year.
Yeah, I can't believe it, 2024. So right now, there is currently a really unique opportunity happening with SBP. It is SBP open enrollment season. Can you please talk about the advantages of this rare SBP opportunity?
Yeah, this is something that the last time that it happened was about 2004. So if it happens again, it probably won't be for 20 years. It's a unique choice for those people that are in the military. If you retire from the military, your retired pay stops when you die, but you can enroll in this program called the Survivor Benefit Plan, or SBP. For those people who may have opted not to enroll in the Survivor Benefit Plan because of some things that Congress changed this year, and this year only, they have the opportunity to buy back into the Survivor Benefit Plan if they want to. And it may make sense for people in particular limited circumstances. It's a long explanation, but if anybody wants any more information, we've got a lot of information on our website at afma.com. I would encourage anybody who's interested in that to go there and or email me, which you can get the links also off of afma.com, and we're happy to go into more detail. The important thing for people to remember is if you did not select Survivor Benefit Plan when you retired from the military and you want to do so, you literally have to do it by the 31st of December of this year, or you'll have no opportunity to do so.
Yeah, that's really important. You're on a timeline, on a deadline. This is an opportunity that, will come up. It sounds like about maybe every 20 years or so. And so that can be a really big advantage for some service members who might not have elected it. So as Mike said, please reach out, look at afma.com. We have lots of information. There's a lot of nuances to the SBP open enrollment and see if it might be right for you and your family. And as the year kind of comes to a close, a lot of people, start thinking about their finances, what that's going to look like in the next year. So what are some ways people can get financially ready for 2024, regardless of what stage of life they might be in?
Well, and I'll use my family. On Thanksgiving, we're going to have about 28 people all together, and the ages are going to range from 2 years old to 92 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And so from oldest to youngest, my parents are worried about their minimum required distributions from their IRAs. So it's useful to work with a financial planner like those with AAFMAA Financial Management, Wealth Management, to look at those kinds of things to figure out how much you need to withdraw. In my wife and my case, we're interested in taking care of our children and our grandchildren. So having tax advantage 529 plans is very important, as well as looking at being able to insure our grandchildren. We've got AAFMAA life insurance policies, which if you get them for children, they're very inexpensive and they'll protect children throughout their lives. In our kids' case, I've got 3 kids. 2 of them are in the military, one in the Army Reserve and one on active duty. And they've taken advantage of the opportunity to get mortgages. And they were able to get their mortgages when the interest rates were very low. They happen to get them from AAFMAA Mortgage Services, but you get those from others. And now they're kind of in those homes, stuck with that lower interest rate. So they're trying to figure out if they've got bills, whether to get a second mortgage or how to pay for those. And then for the youngest grandchildren that are out there, again, taking care of them with 529 plans, which, just to explain it for those people that may not be familiar, it's kind of like an IRA. It has the same rules of an IRA. You put the money in there, designating it for an individual. And as long as it is used for educational purposes, the money grows tax-free, and all of the income comes out of it tax-free as long as it's used for education. In the new Secure Act 2.0, you may even be able to convert that to an IRA under some certain conditions. And in my case, I happen to live in Virginia. All of the money that I contribute to these 529 plans for each of my grandchildren, that comes off of my Virginia state taxes directly. So it provides a tax advantage to me and is saving up money for those grandchildren.
Yeah, that's great. I really like how you walked through, right? Every stage, right? At every stage of one's life. For service members, whether they're on active duty or they have transitioned from service, if that was at the 10-year mark or 5-year or maybe at the 20-year mark, and they've retired from service, everybody's thinking about things differently as their life progresses and what it looks like. And so it's really important, one, to know that there are places and organizations where you can ask the questions and get the information. We of course strive to do that, but also to take it upon yourself to start thinking about what we need to do at every stage.
And that, Sarah, I think you're exactly right. And when you get together with people, with your family over the holidays, after you talk about everything else, it's okay to ask them about those financial things, because with my kids all over the place, sometimes it's helpful for them to just sort of ask, hey, how did you manage this debt? How do you manage insurance? How do you do those sorts of things? There's a lot of wisdom that can be passed on from one generation to the next, and take advantage of those family gatherings, not to focus too much on it, but as long as you're together, it's important to discuss that among yourself and your families.
Yeah, it absolutely is. A lot of times too, at the end of the year, people start thinking about donating, right? How can they give back, whether it's their time or it's money? And so people like to donate to charities. How can donating to charities before the end of the year actually might help with your taxes?
Yeah, it's a good point. Again, to donate to a charity and to have that come off of your taxes, you have to be into a position where you're using Schedule A, which is where you're itemizing deductions. Because they raised the standard deduction several years ago, it is less applicable to everybody. During COVID, there was an exception for cash donations. That has now been phased out. But if you do have a home and you have a mortgage and interest payments, you may be in a position where you are using Schedule A. And if so, it is very important to itemize your deductions and to record everything that you make in contributions to a charity. To get over the standard deductions, sometimes people will group their donations for a particular charity so that you get above a particular amount in one year or the other. So for example, if you wanted to donate to your church or to your college or something like that, instead of doing it each year, you might pile that all into 2023 so that you reach the threshold where it would be appropriate and you'd get more of a tax deduction, or you may want to delay it till 2024. The other thing to remember is if you are in a position to deduct donations, obviously you save all those receipts, but it also means that you're eligible for non-cash donations. In other words, if you donate a car to some worthy charity, or even thrift shop stuff to Goodwill, you can get receipts for that and then accumulate all of that, and that can also be added to your charitable deductions for the year.
That's great. That's a really good point too. When we talk about items, sometimes we don't think about giving away things and how, right, that could actually have a financial impact on yourself. And at the end of the year, I know there's a lot of cleaning and purging, and we're trying to start for the new year. So if you take that to a thrift shop, right, you could have kind of a bit of a financial break.
That's right. And many organizations, again, the church that we happen to go to had a big Thanksgiving drive. We donated several baskets for that. People can have Operation Angel Tree, where they donate gifts for children. Keep the receipts for all of that, and that can all be part of your charitable deductions, again, assuming that you itemize your deductions.
Right. That's an important thing to highlight there. So we've talked a little bit about, right, the end of the year and holiday time and family gatherings and, what that kind of looks like. And when we talk about getting together with our families, sometimes it can be very expensive. So what are some ways to be able to hold those gatherings and talk and not maybe break the bank when we're looking at setting ourselves financially right for 2024?
No, I think that's very important, especially when you think about coming out of COVID. 2 or 3 years ago, nobody was traveling, and people were getting the cash payments from the PPP and other kinds of things. And so gifts tended to be a little bit bigger because you were sending them, you weren't spending money flying, you weren't traveling. Now, nobody's getting the cash from the government anymore, and you may be traveling, and the gifts are still out there. So you really need to focus on your budget. If you are visiting relatives and spending literally $1,000 on plane flights that are getting more and more expensive every day, you may want to think that your presence with them is the present and not necessarily go overboard on the presents themselves. The other thing is obviously keep track of that spending. Have a budget for each individual, and try not to exceed that budget. Not many people do it the old-fashioned way, where you literally count out cash and you only pay with cash. When you run out of that cash, you don't buy it anymore. Most people are on using credit cards, and again, that's wise, but it's also important to track how much you're spending on those credit cards and make sure that that is staying relatively within limits. The other thing that's important, if you do put it on a credit card, is to have the money in January when that bill comes due to pay it off. Another adjustment from 3 years ago. 3 years ago, interest rates were very low, and the credit card interest rates were comparatively low as well. If you can, at all possible, pay off those credit cards, don't spend more than you have, and be able to put it together. And you can still have a great, fun Christmas. In our case, now that we have up to 9 grandchildren, instead of everybody getting a gift for everybody else, you can draw names out of a hat and get a special gift for that one special cousin or nephew or niece, and instead of thinking that you've got to get gifts for everybody. Those kinds of things can make sure that the holidays are very fun and you aren't regretting what you spent when it comes January and all those bills come due.
Yeah, that's some really great advice. Talking about how to still enjoy your time, what the financial landscape looks like, right? I'm putting things on credit cards and interest rates, things that we should be thinking about. And sometimes we don't want to think about them, but it's really important too. There's a word that we've been saying a lot in this conversation, which is budget and budgeting, right? It's really important. It's something that here at AAFMAA, right, we always are talking with our service members, either wherever they are in their careers. A lot of times in the transition space, we're talking so much about how a budget and paying bills on time every time. It really makes a big difference. So these are little things that you can do so that in the next year, you're just setting you and your family off on your right financial footing. And Mike, if there are some people that are thinking, I would love to get more information about this, I'd love to be tapped into these kind of financial resources for service members, their families and veterans, where can they do that?
Yeah, we're all about the financial security and independence of everybody in the military and those who did serve. You can go to AAFMAA.com and subscribe. There'll be a QR code that you can see where you can actually get our subscription and then get a variety of information that's in there. And also fill out what you're interested in. If it's budgeting things, that's one thing. If it's financial planning, that may be another. If it's whether you should buy a house or rent, when you get to your next post or duty station. All of that kind of information is available out there, as well as ways to reach back to us, to talk to our member benefits people and other financial people to be able to give you advice.
That's great. Well, Mike, thank you again so much for joining us today and highlighting how service members and veterans can become more financially ready in 2024. I am Sarah Bumgardner, and that will wrap up our AAFMAA Live for today. As Mike said, if you want more information about AAFMAA and financial readiness, please go to the QR code here. You can subscribe and get all of that information directly sent to you. Otherwise, I thank you for joining. Again, Mike, thank you so much. And I hope everybody has a great day.